What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So here we have a Wayman that says that she regrets being a feminist, and she's gonna tell us, why she was brainwashed and all that stuff. So let's get to it.
I used to believe that feminism is a great thing, just like most women, and maybe even most people. But obviously, I changed my mind, since I've made multiple videos addressing the dangers of modern feminism.
I don't think that people think that feminism is a great thing. I think that they just grew up in a system where this was the status quo. This was the norm. It was just norm for women to not be June Cleaver. It was the norm for, women to be LESB. You know where I'm going with that. Or for them to be thoughts, or for them to be rude, for them to curse, for them to have tattoos, for them to have short hair, for them to, have a job and work 60 hours a week. You were born in a system where that was the norm. You were born into a country where that was the norm. And you didn't really think much of it. It was just, this is the way things are, right? So I don't think anyone thinks it's a good thing. I think that, you're just born into that system.
And since it's apparently very uncommon for a woman to be skeptical of feminism, lots of people ask me when I started hating my own kind. Which is a great question. I'm kidding, of course, because being critical of feminism doesn't equal hating women. The fact that I even have to explain this is ridiculous, but unfortunately it's necessary in the world we live in today. Anyway, in this video I'm going to tell you why I thought feminism was a good thing, and more importantly, the moment I realized it was all a lie. To give you some context, this is where I live, the Netherlands.
A lot of women come to that realization that being strong and independent and all that stuff is BS. But by the time they come to that realization, they're already far gone, man. Their brain is cooked. They've done a lot of things in their life, get their body count up, get a whole bunch of tattoos, get a whole bunch of debt. They've done things that even if they reject feminism and they say, you know what, F this, I'm not following this anymore. I want to be June Cleaver now. I want to be My Fair Lady. I want to be taken care of, and I want to be sweet and feminine, and I want to get married, and I want a guy to take care of me. A lot of them come to that realization around 28 to 35, around there. A lot of them are dropping that opinionated, strong and independent woman stuff. But by then you're cooked already. You know what I mean? That's like, imagine that, me as a guy, I do a whole bunch of GAY stuff, and, I have this crazy GAY lifestyle. And then around 28 to 35, I'm like, you know what? F that. I want to start being a traditional straight guy that gets married and has kids and takes care of women, and I don't do any of that. I was brainwashed into that, and I don't do that anymore. It's like you can't turn it around now. Like, you're right, you've done too much, you're too far gone. And lucky for women, they turn it around. And every minute there's a sucker born. Every minute there's a new sucker that falls into their little traps. They, bat their eyelashes and show a little bit of their chest and just, scratch the guy's back, be a little bit sweet, and he's ready to wife it up.
I grew up in a very progressive country, so of course in school we also got taught about feminism. But when I was a kid, feminism wasn't promoted as extremely as it is now. It was more like men and women are all equal, and women can do everything a man can do. And if you follow me for a while now, then you probably know that I think the last one is debatable.
Which is BS, because obviously I do not advocate for violence. Obviously I disavow domestic violence or anything like that. But, I could break your face with my bare hands, break your neck with my bare hands. You can't do that to me. Okay, so right there, nature is telling you we are not equal. Okay. So as much as they like to promote it that we are we're not, and men like me, and you know uh, uh some women, very few, less than 1% of women try to tell everybody, but we're just seen as sexist, misogynistic, all that stuff.
since there are natural differences between men and women. But when I was a kid, this message of women can do everything a man can do really resonated with me because I was such a tomboy. I was always hanging out with boys, getting into mischief, climbing trees, and just doing all kinds of typical boy stuff. I wasn't the stereotypical girl at all, and I didn't like it when people treated me like one. I didn't want to play with dolls, I wasn't into makeup or fashion until I was like 16, and to be completely honest, I'm still not that into it. So I always really envied boys because they got to do all of the stuff that I wanted to do. At the same time, I was also a very sensitive and empathetic child, which are often seen as more feminine traits. But there wasn't too much room for that because my father always pushed me very hard in school and in sports. He really wanted me to be successful, and he almost kind of treated me like I was his firstborn son. And therefore, when I was younger, I used to be extremely ambitious. I wanted to have
So as you can see, even though she's had the feminist indoctrination, she's still a woman biologically, and she can't help herself but to blame her the way she is, and the way things turned out for her on who? A man. Because women are biologically wired to take zero responsibility, zero accountability. They are, children mentally, for the rest of their lives. They're just like children, in where you can't leave them to their own devices, and they make bad decisions. They make emotional decisions. They throw temper tantrums. They have, fits. She can't help herself but to blame it on what? A guy. No accountability. And by the way, the whole thing of playing sports, rock climbing, throwing rocks, stuff like that. I had female cousins. There were girls in the neighborhood, and we all played. No one thought of activities as these are boy activities, these are girl activities. It was just, we're all kids and we're playing. So I don't know what she meant by that. In where she has to play with dolls, and if she goes outside and rides a bike like that, that's a boy activity. No, you could do both. And I rode bikes with girls and never thought about it as, what are you doing? This is a boy activity, right? Now, obviously, things like fighting, lifting something heavy, you came to the realization naturally, like, hey, this is not for girls. Girls can't do this. But things like running around, playing tag, playing freeze tag, riding bikes, climbing stuff, that's not like gender specific.
A very successful career and make lots of money. And I wanted to do all of that while being on a national field hockey team as well. And while doing all of that, I also thought I could be a great mother. Because that is what I saw on TV. And not only on TV, of course. Because there is feminist indoctrination everywhere. The stories of today are almost always based on a strong female character. A girl who has to make it in a male-dominated world. And she always has such a disadvantage just because she's a girl. But she ends up succeeding anyway, despite all odds. And when it comes to romantic stories, it's always the girl who challenges the guy that she likes. And that's what makes him fall in love with her. But what did that teach me? Basically, that I need to have a successful career in order to be respected by society, and that I need to go around challenging the guys that I like in order to find true love. And those were actually my beliefs as a teenager. But that's the complete opposite of how I think about those things now. And it all goes back to a very specific moment when I was 16 that
So a lot of people believe that the only tenet, the only quality of feminism is career, strong and independent. If a girl is, if she's LES, okay, or LEZ, or she's a DYKE, right? So, a girl who's like in the LGBT community, trying to pretend to be a boy, dressing like a boy, that is feminism. Or, a woman who's trying to have a career and all that stuff, that is feminism. No. Okay, women on Instagram who are very feminine and very beautiful, taking pictures of themselves, that's a feminist too. All right. A woman with a 2 body count, that's a feminist. All right. Women who puff their chest out at men, that's a feminist. Women with even a tiny itty bitty tattoo, that's also a feminist. All right. Uh, a woman who goes to the gym, she could be feminine, she could be sweet, she could be girly. If she's wearing leggings, all right, if she's wearing provocative clothing, that is feminism. All right. Feminism is not just career, strong and independent stuff. Okay. The bar that you have to cross to be considered a feminist is very low. All right. The same way that the bar for, or the threshold for us men to be considered GAY is very low. That's the same thing with feminism. Like, let's just say, okay, I've never done, anything involving bedroom activities, but I peck kissed a guy, right? It was just a little peck kiss, in the mouth. That's GAY, bro. You are GAY. Okay, so you don't have to go full blown, doing stuff in the back door to be considered GAY. If I'm too overly, obsessed with manicuring myself and looking pretty and stuff like that. Now, once again, I agree. You need to care about your looks. You need to make sure you look sharp. As a guy, you got to have nice style, have swag. I agree with all that. But if you are too obsessed with your looks and I got to get, I got to do stuff and I got to put on all types of creams and I got to, you are on GAY territory, okay? I agree, brush your teeth, care about your appearance. I agree with all that. But if you are overly too much with that, you are borderline in GAY territory. The same thing with women, okay? Not just a career woman or, being a DYKE is a feminist. The threshold for you to be considered a feminist is very low, okay? If you are not June Cleaver, being sweet, wearing, like a woman who wears pants, that's feminism right there. Women are not supposed to wear pants, all right? So, you know what I mean? So it's like 99.99999% of them are feminists, okay? And the thing with feminism, imagine that women are like a glass of water and feminism is poop. Even if you have a beautiful, nice, great, thirst quenching glass of water and you add a little tiny bit of poop in it, it's ruined. This is why 99% of them are just ruined for anything serious, because they grew up in feminism, they've been indoctrinated by it, and even if they're not full blown like blue haired, man hating career woman, rude, obnoxious feminists, even if they're not that, a little drop of feminism is enough for a relationship with the modern woman to be untenable. Okay, the on being on social media, attention seeking, posting themselves looking all sexy and stuff, that's feminism. Okay, you can't have anything successful long term with like 99.999% of them today.
Completely changed my mind about feminism and my beliefs. You see, my parents' relationship had already fallen apart by then. They were divorced. And the funny thing is that I actually come from quite a traditional household where my dad was mostly the breadwinner and my mom, she worked part-time to take care of the kids. But they had a very toxic relationship and they didn't respect each other at all. And I don't want to go too much into detail about that on the internet. But I saw their relationship and I thought, never in my life do I want such a horrible relationship with someone. And on top of that, I wasn't popular at all in school, also not with guys, and I also got bullied, and I was actually quite depressed as a teenager. I just remember thinking, my life really sucked.
Boo-hoo, boo-hee-dee, hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Everyone struggles with something, okay? If you know, that's just the way it is being young. Okay, everyone gets bullied for something. If you're not getting bullied for your weight, you're getting bullied, for like there's guys, right, that they start losing their hair when they're like 16 years old. They start going bald. Okay. So if you're not getting bullied for that, you're getting bullied because you wear glasses. If you're not getting bullied for that, you're getting bullied because you're short or, like I grew up in a black area, okay, a ghetto area. It was about 90% black, maybe 9% Hispanic, and then 1% other. And if you didn't have Jordans, okay, you got bullied for that. So people are going to get bullied for something. All right, so cry me a river. That's number one. Number two, the thing with her parents getting divorced and all that stuff, you know, that's just something you got to deal with. And today, a lot of people have to come to the realizations that I can't back this number up with, this is the source. But I personally think like 99% of marriages are just destined to fail today because there's too much that facilitates it to fail, right? And also the reason why it worked back in the day was because people needed each other to literally survive. Okay, they without each other they would die. Like women would die without men, literally die. Today they don't need us for survival. They need us for procreation and entertainment. So once they've achieved the procreation part, they got a few kids out of you, and once they've they can't get any more entertainment out of you. You're not causing them any feelings or stuff like that. A lot of them are ready to pull the plug, right? And, you could say, oh, well, there's men who file for divorce too, and they go out and they're tired and bored in their relationships. Yeah, that's true. But the stats say that like 90% of divorces are filed by women, right? So that's an actual statistic. The one where I think 99% of marriages are just destined to fail. That's just from what I'm noticing and, my personal, gauging of the situation.
But around that time, I also discovered self-development content on YouTube. And I was especially interested in relationship stuff because I never really had a good example of what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like. And by accident, I came across this pickup artist YouTube channel. He was a Dutch guy giving dating advice to men. And I was kind of curious what kind of
Today, you can't have a healthy relationship. It's impossible today to have a healthy relationship. Because if you go into, if you meet a girl and you're going in there with, I communicate, you're being a guy who communicates, you're being a guy who's thoughtful, you're being a guy who's charming, romantic, they get bored of that very quickly. All right. You got to be like charming, funny, and then like disappear on them, and then provide fun and lovey-doveyness, then disappear on them. Then you gotta, create a little drama, get angry at her about something dumb, and then disappear on her, and then come back and be lovey-dovey and charming, and tell her, forgive me, babe, because I've been so distant, and I had so much going on. So then now you're being like sweet, and you're putting yourself in a situation in a thing where you're like, come on, don't be like that, forgive me. Then disappear on her again. Then like you have to keep them. There's no healthy relationships today. If you go into it with I'm a reliable guy, you don't have to worry about me. You don't have to worry that I'll be with other women. I'm always going to communicate with you. I'm always going to make sure that I'm taking care of you. I'll buy you gifts. If you go into it like that, which I consider a healthy relationship, you're being a good guy. That's what, if you go into it doing all that stuff, you're going to get played, bruh. You're going to get played, stood up, used for money, used for dates, all of it.
advice men get. So I watched a few of his videos, and to be honest, I was kind of shocked in the beginning because he kind of talked about women like they are objects, which I really didn't like. But the content was all about how to make women respect you and how to approach them in nightclubs and stuff, which is, by the way, the worst place to meet someone, in my opinion, if you want to meet a high quality person at least. I don't think you're going to find that in a nightclub. But the main thing I realized from watching his content is that men almost
There is no meeting a high quality girl. That doesn't exist. Even if you meet them at the supermarket, or you meet them at the gym, or you meet them at the pharmacy, or you meet them at a what's considered a positive general place, okay? They still like if you meet her at the supermarket, that girl that you're meeting at the supermarket, she still goes clubbing. So what's the difference if you met her or she does things that would be considered thought behavior? Okay, we'll just say that. So if you meet a girl, you didn't meet her at a thought setting, okay, like a nightclub, but you met her at a positive setting, like a supermarket. That doesn't mean she doesn't do thought behavior. They're all doing thought behavior. There is no quality today. Okay? Get that out of your mind that you're going to meet quality. Now, will you meet someone who's totally psycho and they're like an uber thought, and they're probably going to try to KILL you? No. Okay? You're most likely going to meet someone who's cool, and you guys have shared interest. But are you going to meet someone who doesn't do thought activities? Not likely. Is she like a mega uber? Every girl out here is a mega uber thought. No, obviously not. But the ones that go to nightclubs or you meet them at a supermarket, they're all doing the same thing, bro. So today, just get rid of that idea that you're going to meet quality. And by quality, I mean like June Cleaver. Like, sweet, submissive, not a thought, no, not overweight, doesn't have any tattoos, under 25. Like, you're not going to meet that.
don't care at all about your career or about how much money you make. And what I also realized is how hard it is for a guy to actually approach a woman and deal with rejection. Because my god, that stuff is just ruthless. And this is something that most women just don't realize. Because we usually don't have to deal with rejection from guys to that degree. And where you almost have to fight for a woman to even notice you. Not to say that women don't deal with rejection, but it's a different kind of rejection. Usually later on when the woman realizes that the guy is actually not that serious about her. And I'm not saying that's necessarily always better, because that can also really emotionally damage you, but it's a different kind of rejection. But watching this dating advice for guys really changed my perspective on relationships, because I honestly didn't know what kind of struggles men had. I mean, I was 16, so I probably didn't really know anything about life, but still. And I kind of felt betrayed, as if I was finding out that Santa isn't actually real. So yeah, that really made me start my learnings about female and male relationship dynamics, because I was very much aware of the fact that everything I'd learned about relationships up until that point was completely wrong. Either from my parents, from school, or from TV. And from that moment, I almost made it my life's mission to not fall into the trap of a miserable marriage. And I've learned so much from basically just watching YouTube videos, not from pickup artists, by the way, but from more legit psychologists and dating experts. But I think it's very funny that pickup artist content was actually my first wake-up call that modern feminism is actually very toxic. And I was lucky to realize that very early on in my
She made it her life's mission to not be in a miserable marriage. Sorry, honey, but the reason why you're going to be in a miserable marriage is because you are a female. And you are naturally, biologically insatiable. You always want more. And nothing that the guy does is ever enough. And as much as you try to gauge that part about yourself, you try to gauge it, and you try to stop it, and you try to control it, and you try to not be that way. It's your biology. It's deep ingrained in your DNA and in your cells. Okay? As a guy, all right, obviously I can control myself if I see a really hot, beautiful woman. Obviously I can control myself to not act a fool, but can I trick my brain to not like it? Can I trick my brain to not want to look? No, it's biologically ingrained into every part of my being. Okay? The same way, insatiability, being perpetually miserable, constantly wanting more, nothing is ever enough, is ingrained in your biology.
My life because I was only 16 and I hadn't really dated anyone yet, so it was before a lot of damage could be done. The funny thing is that I actually get a lot of comments from people who think that my parents were just amazing and that they taught me all of this stuff, but the complete opposite is true. My motivation for learning about relationships came from a very deep desire to not repeat my parents' mistakes. And I have to say, it worked out great for me because I actually found love. But if I hadn't done all of that work, I'm pretty sure that I would have gone down a much darker path. And that dark path is actually a reality for lots of women. And for men, of course.
So she says she's found love. How many years is this love? Okay, because if you're like in a 2-year relationship, that's still new and fresh. I think a lot of relationships, you can, you're going to go through like a year or two of awesomeness, lovey-doveyness, getting to know each other. You'll have your first argument, this, that, but you guys really care about each other. Then you'll go through like this smooth cruise control phase where you guys are just used to each other and neither of you has any intention of like breaking up or anything like that. That'll probably last like 3 years. So maybe 5 years is like max that you'll get of good, sweet behavior from her. And you know what I mean? Where her insatiability hasn't kicked in too much. You know what I'm saying? Around the 8-year mark, you guys are in like red territory, danger zone. And it's most likely her. It's going to be the woman who she's just bored and she wants out. Okay. So she says she found love. How many years is this relationship?
But in a different way, just because people don't know any better. And I would never claim that feminists are bad people. Feminists have just absorbed what their society tells them is true. And you can't blame people for wanting to be part of the culture they were born into. And of course, in the end, we're all responsible for our own actions and for fixing our own lives. Which I personally try to do as much as I can. At the end of the day, I'm just someone who's trying to figure out life just like you. I just want to share the insights I've gathered along the way. And apparently, some people find that interesting. And if you're one of these people, you should really subscribe and watch this video next.
So there we have it. A woman who regrets feminism and regrets the lie. And look, even if she herself is a unicorn and she learned her lesson and she didn't have a thought phase, that's not enough. And younger women, they're not watching, like, let's just say her channel is dedicated to helping women not be uber feminist, menace to society, right? Unbearable women to be around. Let's just say that's what she dedicates her YouTube channel to. The women who matter, okay? Women who are going into the dating market, let's keep it at 18, right? The women who are like 18 to 22, they're not watching this type of content, right? We know that women, they start experimenting and as young as 14, and they're listening to Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion and whatever, other type of Taylor Swift. They're listening to that even when they're little girls. Taylor Swift is telling them, break up with your boyfriend, go live your life. You don't need to put up with a man's BS, blah, 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 blah. Right? So, but let's just say women who are like 18 to 22 that are going into the dating market, they can get married, they can start going out into the world and exploring. They're not watching that type of content. So, I mean, basically what I'm trying to say is that things are totally cooked. All right. And you need to be MG+0W. And if you want to go, you want to mingle, you want to have a fun little date with a woman, but then it needs to end there. No cohabitation, no marriage, no kids. They're all cooked mentally, okay? Even a drop of feminism is too much. Anyways, guys, make sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next one, and I'm out.